Hello everyone, welcome to Veranda IAS in this series of lectures of current affairs. The subject we are discussing linked current affairs for social issues. The topic of the day is to discuss about the National Council for Transgender Persons, one of the important developments which took place recently in the fight of the transgender people for their rights, for their equality and status. The learning objectives of the day are to outline the members of National Council for Transgender Persons, to examine the National Council for Transgender Persons in news, why this topic is in news, and then we will expand the functions of the Council, we will discuss the objectives of the Council, we will describe the development of the National Council for Transgender Persons. What were the steps involved in the development? From where this fight started and how it ended up in the consideration of, in the establishment of National Council for Transgender Persons. Then we will explain some of the important facts, some of the important provisions related with the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019 and then the way forward. Important thing is way forward, what are the issues, what are the challenges and how we have to tackle this. We'll begin the session today. First and foremost, some introduction about this council, some introduction about the members of this council and the constitution of this council. The central government established a National Council for Transgender Persons by notice dated 21st of August 2020. That's why this becomes important. This is a new addition. This is a recent development. The National Council for Transgender Persons is established by the central government in India. It was central government in 2020 which established a National Council for Transgender Persons. Under which law central government established the National Council? It was in exercise of the powers given to the central government provided by Section 16 of the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019. It was under this Act of 2019 which allows central government to constitute, to establish this council. Next comes, which is the nodal ministry? What can be the nodal ministry which exercises the powers to take care of the welfare of the transgender people in India? It is the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Remember, it is the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment whose work is to take care of the rights of the transgender people in India. Union Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment will preside this council, will be the chairperson for this council ex officio, while the Union Minister of State for Social Justice and Empowerment will be the vice chairperson ex officio. The chairperson will be Union Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment, simple to remember, and the ex officio vice chairperson will be Union Minister of State for Social Justice and Empowerment. See, transgender people were not even considered as a part of the population since 2011. 2011 census for the first time started counting transgender people, and then their literacy, health, education related problems came in front of us. Nearly 4.5 to 5 lakh transgender people were recorded in the census of 2011 in India. And also we know that the fight is very long. They have started, they are fighting for their rights, for their claims, for their equality in India. We also know that very recently, third gender category is included to be mentioned for the transgender people in all the forms. Earlier we had male, female, now there is a third gender category as well. This is also one of the positive developments in this fight of the transgender people in India. Next comes a member of the National Council who is not an ex officio member shall serve for a 3-year term beginning on the date of his nomination. There will be a member of the National Council who is not an ex officio member shall serve for 3-year term. Remember, it is 3-year term and not 5-year term. Please don't get confused. Beginning on the day of his nomination. Next comes the details under this Act. Under the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act of 2019, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment established the National Council for Transgender Persons in 2020. That is why this topic is in news. This topic is relevant for your examination. Also, we see that daily we find some or other developments related to the transgender people in India and some or other mention of their fight, of their claims in the newspapers. That is why this is hot topic. Probability is high that you will get the questions from this topic. Next comes, what are the other members of the council? Who are other people who will constitute the council? The representatives from 5 states or union territories will be there. What all 5 states? The states are chosen from each north, south, east, west and then northeast regions on a rotational basis. The states are chosen from this division: north, south, east, west and then 5th is northeastern region on a rotational basis. Representatives from 5 states or union territories will be there. 5 members of the transgender community will also be members of the council, which is very relevant, which is commendable, which is, you should mention in your answers, a good step. Because see, it is a council for the transgender people, for their welfare. So the people from the transgender community should be included because they know their problems well. They know how to tackle what can be the good solutions. So it is good to include, it is a good step to include the transgender community people, 5 members from their community in the council. 1 each from the north, south, east, west and northeast regions. Similarly, like we have representatives from 5 states. The representatives from 10 central departments will also be there. The representatives from 10 central departments will also be there in the council. Joint secretary level members will be from the ministries. Which ministries? Ministries of Health, Home, Minority Affairs, Education, Rural Development, Labour and Law. Joint secretary level members from all these ministries will also be there as the members of the council. A member from the Department of Pensions. Department of Pensions. Under which ministry this department comes? It is Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions. Then member from Niti Aayog, member from NHRC, National Human Rights Commission, and then member from National Commission for Women will also be there as a part of the member of the National Council for Transgenders. Now the question arises, what are the functions of this council? Before reading the slides, before moving ahead, can you guess what can be the functions of the council? The functions of the council will be to facilitate the easy path, to facilitate the path of empowerment, to ease out the fight which the transgender people are fighting in India for their rights, to advise the central government on the creation of the policies, on the creation of the schemes, on the programs and the fundings to enrich the position of transgender people in India. Since the fight is years back, since they are the people who are fighting for rights, equal job opportunities, equal health facilities, equal education facilities and equality in employment. So that is what is the function of the council, to facilitate their fight, to facilitate their rights. We will discuss to advise the central government. Remember, the word is advise, it is advisory. The functions of the council are to advise the central government, since it is established by the central government, since it is the national council. So it will advise central government on the creation of transgender related policies, programs, laws and initiatives. Next comes, what is the next function of the council? To monitor and to coordinate. To monitor and to coordinate the operations of all government agencies as well as those governmental and non-governmental organizations that deal with transgender issues, overall to tackle the transgender issues in India. But if we talk specifically, the coordination of the government agencies, the coordination of the schemes which are being made for the welfare of transgender people is important, and this is what one of the important functions of the National Council. Next comes to monitor and assess. To monitor and assess the effects of policies and programs aimed at attaining transgender equality and full participation. What is it? When you write your answers in your UPSC exam, the criticism of any scheme or the way forward in any scheme, what do we write? We write that the scheme is good, steps have been taken, initiatives have been taken, but there is a problem in implementation. There is a problem in the ground reality, the ground work, and this is what is also one of the important functions of the Council for Transgenders, to check whether whatever policies are being advised, are being made, are being there prepared for the transgender people, their ground reality is what? The benefits are reaching to the people or not, to monitor and assess the effects of the policies, whether these policies are being helpful to the people, reaching to the people, and then these people are getting benefit out of these policies or not. And programs aimed at attaining transgender equality, whatever programs are there by the government to attain equality and participation of transgender people, these programs are working or not. This is also one of the important functions. Then the important function is to address the transgender community's issues, the issues faced by them. Issues faced by them in various sectors, in various aspects, in health, in education, in employment, in equal treatment at every sphere of public life. The issues which they are facing at every sphere of public life, all those issues are also addressed by the Council. Next is to carry out any such task as the central government may specify. Important. This point can be asked as a direct question, direct statement in your prelims, that whatever central government want National Council to advise, whatever central government is specifying, National Council need to carry out such task apart from whatever functions are being listed. Then comes, what are the objectives of the Council? There is a question, what are the objectives of the Council? We have discussed the functions. The functions take us to the objectives of the Council. The objectives of the Council are to address transgender people's livelihood difficulties. Important, livelihood difficulties. Facing day-to-day challenges. These people are facing day-to-day challenges in a equal life, or we can say a normal life. So livelihood difficulties, and to raise awareness about transgender acceptance in society, to raise awareness amongst the people that transgender people are part of the society and get their acceptance in the social sphere. Then to guarantee that transgender welfare boards are established, to make sure that there are welfare boards to be established for the welfare of transgenders in all the states, and that the transgender community's basic needs, what are the basic needs? Food, shelter, healthcare, education, these are met. During COVID-19 pandemic, we were discussing the impact of the lockdown of COVID-19 pandemic on various aspects of the society, on various sections of the society. One of the worst affected section of the society was the community of the transgenders, because we know that the transgender community is not yet completely assimilated with the society in India, and transgenders are facing challenges. Their earning is limited, and whatever are the sources of their earnings were banned during the lockdowns. People were coming forward to help the other sections, elderly, poor, but people were not very readily helping the transgender people. We saw very rare or probably no news is that some or other people are coming and helping the transgender people financially. But we saw some newses, some good news excerpts that told us that the people from the elderly community are being helped by the policemen, by the local people, by the NGOs, and the students are being helped. But None of the attention was there on the transgender people. So their basic things, shelter, food, healthcare, education, these all need to be taken care of. This is also the objective of the council. We'll discuss some factual information about the development of the council. What are the steps involved in the development of the council? The committee was set up in 2013. It all started from 2013. The committee was set up in 2013. The next year, 2014, transgender persons, one of the positive developments, were deemed the third gender in the National Legal Services Authority versus University of Ireland case. The case was NLSA versus University of Ireland. But see, before that, they were not even recognized as a gender. Their gender affiliation was not even recognized. So it was one of the turning points, one of the great steps that they were recognized as a separate affiliation from the two genders. 2014 was the year when they got recognized as third gender in the case which you have studied, NLSA versus University of Ireland. Additionally, it is said that the basic rights shall apply equality to transsexual persons. Apart from that, 2014 in this case, it was said that the basic rights should be given to transgender people shall apply equally to the transsexual persons. Additionally, it granted, important, the freedom to self-identification as male, female or third gender. If any transgender person considers his or her affiliation as a male, as a female, then they were also allowed to self-identify themselves as male, female or as a third gender, which was a new category. One of the important and good developments. Next, in 2014, in the Rajya Sabha, a private member's bill was introduced. What was the name of the bill? The Rights of Transgendered Persons. A bill was introduced in Rajya Sabha, the upper house, but the bill got expired. After that, what happened? What is the journey? 2016, in Lok Sabha, the government introduced its own bill. The bill was introduced by the government, 2016, which was submitted to a standing committee. 2019, the bill on transgender persons' protection of rights was enacted. From 2014 till 2019, this was the development, and finally this became an act. The Transgender Persons Protection of Right Act 2019 was passed. The National Council for Transgender Individuals was founded in 2020. One step ahead, next year, Council was also founded as per the powers of the central government under this Act of 2019. Now comes some provisions of this bill, which you can quote anywhere in your answers, important for your exam, which became an act in 2019, the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019. This statute, this law, defines a transgender person. What is the definition of a transgender person? The statute defines a transgender person as one whose gender does not correspond to the gender assigned at birth, whose gender affiliation is not same as the gender assigned at birth, and includes those who have intersex differences as well. So the bill says if a person is recognized as one gender specific and his affiliation is not same, then he is a transgender, and then the people who have intersex differences, they are also considered as transgenders. According to the measure, no one in society has the right to discriminate, important, as per this act. Now it is legally not allowed. Earlier there was no law, so transgenders were facing discrimination. Now at least they can go to the court. According to the measure, no one in society has the right to discriminate against a transgender person, and they have equal educational and job rights. What is important for any community to develop? What is important for any community to get assimilated? We are talking about tribal people. What is the challenge faced by tribals? The challenge faced by tribals is limited livelihood options, limited assimilation in the society because of lack of education. They have their unique culture, that is a different thing, but education plays a very important role in assimilation of any community, any society with the whole nation. So this is what we need to tackle. Transgenders need to have equal educational and equal employment opportunities, and that is how we can assimilate them socially, culturally as well. We can allow their encouragement in the society, their participation in the society, and we can assimilate them, increase their participation in the society. So as per this act, they have equal educational and job rights as well. Additionally, the act stipulates that all trans people will have access to health care. Important is proper health facilities, health care. So this bill says, this act says that all trans people will have access to proper health care as well. As identification, a transgender person may get a certificate carrying their gender from the district magistrate. The authority is district magistrate. DM or district magistrate has the authority to issue a certificate to a transgender person as per their identification, for their identification. So this was the whole story, the development, the issues faced by them, the provisions of the act. Now what are the loopholes? What can be the probable issues, or we can say limitations of the act? See, we have National Council for Transgender People. We have National Council for Protection of Rights of Transgender People, but that is advisory in nature. So when you are writing your answer, the limitations or the still challenges left, you can write non-binding advice of the National Council is a concern. It is advisory in nature and it is non-binding. So at the end, it can just advise. It cannot put pressure on the implementation of the advices of the council. It is non-binding. The second issue, second limitation is there is need for an inclusive approach. There is a need for a more inclusive approach. There is a need that the social acceptance of the transgenders can be increased. What can we do for this? We can start awareness campaigns. We can start, there is development for sure, but the development pace is very slow. So we need to rapid the pace of the development and inclusion of the transgender people, and we need to create awareness in the society for their inclusiveness, for making them as a full-fledged part of the society, for allowing their social acceptance. Next challenge is assuring the proper implementation of the laws. Again, laws are there. Now they can go to the court against any discrimination, but the proper implementation of the laws is also important. The people in the power first should accept transgenders. If they are going to police stations, they are going to courts, their people should consider them as socially acceptable group. Then only the laws will be implemented. So we have to tackle these issues, and then we can assure a better world for the transgender people in India. This was all for today. In today's session, we discussed the members of the National Council for Transgender Persons. We discussed why National Council for Transgender Person was in news. Then we discussed the functions of the council. Then we discussed about the objectives of the council. Then we discussed the development of the National Council. Then we discussed some of the important provisions of Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019 and the challenges along with the way forward. This was all for today. I hope you all enjoyed this session. We will continue our discussion from here. Till then, stay tuned, keep studying. Thank you so much.